And are we doing,
We are live.
Facebook and YouTube, or which one? Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us for this odd Wednesday, March 30th, rescheduled meeting from our regular executive committee of the Charlotte-Mecklenburg Planning Commission. Joining us, nope, I need my script, please, Candace. This meeting is being streamed online via the City of Charlotte Planning Department's YouTube page. Access and minutes are requirements for access and minutes are being met electronically. And I think I skipped something. Thank you. There it is. Meeting is being streamed online in accordance with the state's electronic meeting statute. Requirements of notice, access, and minutes are being met through electronic means. Public and media can watch this meeting live on the Planning, Design, and Development's YouTube page. And we will begin with introductions, I believe. And my name is Kiba Samuel. I serve as chair of the Planning Commission. Mr. Vice Chair, please.
Philip Gussman, I serve as the vice chair of the Planning Commission.
Commissioner Wilton. Let's see, I'm going
This
down
is
the-
Douglas Welton, and I'm a member of the Planning Commission.
Commissioner Barbie
Erin Barbie, Planning Commission.
and staff. We have Candace. Name it up. Allison.
Allison Craig, Interim Planning Director. I think Candace dropped off. I'm trying to figure out what happened.
Okay. Siobhan.
Siobhan Davis, planning staff.
And then I have two unknowns. I have someone logged in as Planning, Design, and Development, and then someone using Streaming Computer as a username. I'm assuming Candace is one of the other. Okay, well, maybe we'll get intros a little bit later. Maybe the other person is Alicia? Yeah. Okay, well, let's jump right into it. Please make sure your microphones are muted when you're not speaking. Okay, having technical issues. To make a motion, please state your name before making a motion or second. Thank you so very much. Minutes. Do we have question, discussion? If not, a motion to approve?
This is Commissioner Barbie. I make a motion to approve the February 21st, 2022 Executive Committee minutes.
Second, this is Welton.
Motion by Barbie, second by Walton, our chief motion maker. Commissioner Gussman.
I vote aye.
Barbie,
Aye.
Walton,
Aye.
and the chair votes aye. Thank you so very much. Passes unanimous. Future work session topics. There's not a lot here. Our meeting has been postponed a couple times. We've had policy map priority. I know we've thanked in private Allison Craig, our interim planning director, Alicia, chief project manager for policy map and team. Publicly, thank you so very much for the work thus far. That was a huge sigh of relief. I was kind of, waiting patiently during that discussion. So thank you so very much for you guys' hard work thus far, and we're right there with you to continue it. Thank you. In light of recent discussion, I think, and I'm trying to figure out where this is best placed, Allison. Well, let me mention first the other topic, and then I'll come back to UDO adoption and what happens after this community area plans is where I want to see. But first, in terms of future topics. So parking, I think, is going to be the next hot thing that we kind of tackle. And it's going to be one of those repetitive hot topics. And what I mean by that is, as we are seeing in our rezoning hearings, there's a lot of communities that are coming to us with conventional plans. There are some developments that are coming to us, especially the Muddo and some of those other areas that you can have no parking. I think Optimus Park is the next spot that will have the magnifying glass to see how that evolves. We've got the first one that came through rezoning about a year ago or more, can't remember now. That's in off of Rawls Ferry Road. That's going to be the Grub Project over across from Blue Blaze. But I think that there are a lot of communities that will have questions about which direction to move their communities as it pertains to parking. You can't create more land. So people have competing idea, or I should say, there are competing priorities. Parking, who wins with parking and sidewalks, who wins with trees and sidewalks, and things of that nature. I think parking is one of those things that people are paying a lot of attention to right now, especially as we go into community area plans. I kind of want to hash out or at least bring to light some recent ideas that I've learned and heard and researched about parking elimination, parking minimums, parking maximums, where they fit, what cities have done ahead of Charlotte, and who we might be able to look to as a model or such. And I'd like to hear some expert opinion, or at least from folks who study this on a research basis, to help us create an informed opinion. The timing of that, even, I'm thinking, is kind of, in looking forward, we have 3 commissioners who are rolling off of the commission at the end of June. We'll have 3 new commissioners coming on in their stead, and the timing of those appointments remain unknown. However, I don't want to waste the content, if that makes sense. So do we do it before June? Do we do it after new appointees? So we have 1, 2, at least 2 more people rolling off next June. And so I don't want this information to be lost, so to speak, but I want as many commissioners who will be working on area plans to get this information as possible. So I'm thinking that we do, or maybe we do both. Maybe we do something now, and then maybe we do something again in the fall, so that we keep this as part of our discussion, because it surprised us how short-term rentals was the hot thing that people wanted to jump on in the UDO in its latest hour. But I think that as we move into area planning, I think that will be more of a hot topic than short-term rentals. So I'm thinking that we pay some agenda time to the issue around parking maximums, minimums, eliminations. Where do they fit? What parts of the city, et cetera, and what areas of the country, of the world, have done this or have gotten a head start above Charlotte, who we can kind of use as a model. So that is a future work topic.
I think it's a now and later conversation, because this is one of the topics that made it to one of our listening sessions for the UDO, and so it's one in which we are looking at best practices. We're looking at comparable cities. It's funny you said you're doing research, because I'd asked Candace to do some research for me too, so it'd be good to see what you have done versus what I asked her to do, because I think that there are some decisions that we're going to need to make for the UDO now. And then the way that I'm viewing the UDO is something that's going to be, I mean, in some ways, not a truly living document because you have to actually, go through a regulatory process to update it. But we're talking about, having regular, probably 6-month updates for the UDO, at least for, the first couple of years when we're working through all these details and we learn things in the community area planning. So that's why I'm saying I think it's probably a now and later conversation. So we can start and then certainly make modifications when we learn more.
Awesome. I would definitely like that. And then secondly, community area plans. I know we're not there yet. It will be at least a few months before we jump into area planning, but I think that there are many people, including council members, who are ready for it. A lot of people tried to put this before policy mapping. A lot of people thought that there are certain questions or concerns that they have that the policy map could have resolved, when that's really where the area plan comes into play. So I think there was a lot of expectation around community area plans, and in terms of its transparency around the process, in terms of the information flowing around that process, what will the process be for area plans? I know some of that is still being established, but I'd like to get ahead of some of that information before community planning even begins. And I'm thinking something along the lines of a launch party, not a party exactly, but something that can inform the masses about what the community area planning process is, what the community area plan does and does not do, what it addresses, what it does not address, or what it cannot address or resolve, how input can be made, what documents can be used as foundations or can contribute to the foundation of a community area plan. For instance, there are a couple communities in Charlotte already that are making plans around their playbook, right? And so I think that some have the expectation that the playbook, so that we don't have to start, with a fresh wheel, creating that wheel. Is there something that already exists that planning staff plans to help inform community area plans for certain parts of the city? So what that process is like, I think as much transparency and information as we can get out there ahead of the actual community area plan process would help us eliminate a lot of the headache that might come during the process. Not knowing if Mr. Manager will honor our requests for additional staffing and bandwidth and resources, as much of the misinformation as we can resolve now, I think would help us be a little bit more efficient. Commissioners, everyone has their hand up, and I'll start with Mr. Vice Chair.
Absolutely. And I think this will be key. And I think staff knows this. But at the same time, I think we need to jump into this with holding hands with neighborhood services and go ahead and just say, hey, we need your help. You know how to talk to the community more than we do, even though we keep trying. And go ahead and start seeing if we can't ingrain the community area plan, any part of the process that we can even if it's just definition at this point, into any of their efforts in communication. They have a number of neighborhood leader education forums and other tools and stuff. This needs to just be one of those things that we are always, and I'll volunteer my time to go help carry this banner to those meetings and those groups. I try and get to them whenever I can anyway. But this we have to do right in this point, because right now, let's say it was 100 people that complained about community area plans not being ready to go yet and wanting to hold up the policy map for it. Those people are going to continue to be loud. And obviously they have the ear of some council members already, and that's good. At the same time, we have a lot of people who've already had input on this process. We just need to make sure we can reach those people. That's, not to belabor the point.
Right.
But,
and you mentioned housing and neighborhood services. I think CRC can help too. Sorry, Community Relations Committee can be of assistance there.
excellent point. Definitely.
Commissioner Barbie? Commissioner Barbie?
Yeah, I'm here. Sorry, I had to come off mute. I wanted to put a pin in what's already been said, that I think it's important that we start now. One of the things that happens as new commissioners, when we come in already behind the ball, if there's some way to track the highlights of the work that's happening in this space so that they can easily get caught up to speed without starting over, I think that would help us progress a bit more quickly, because sometimes we lose our pace a little bit going back to the beginning for our new commissioners. I know it happened when I started. So that's my only point of feedback. I think it's a great point and we should move forward.
Thank you. Okay, Chief Motion Maker.
I would, Phil stole most of my points, but I would say very much so, we can't afford to have community engagement like the 16 people that showed up at the Marion Deal Center for the UDO. That's ridiculous. We've got to have a better solution. I asked the question when that happened, why didn't we have this at South Park where, 10,000 people would have come by in a day, as opposed to a recreation center that hadn't been open for 3 years? We have to have better public engagement. And neighborhood housing and neighborhood services does that in general. And it is not beyond the pale of thought that we could do this multiple times in a little dog and pony show around town, that just working with the area, with the reps for each district too, to tell you the truth, because I'm in Tark's district, so the folks over in Span are going to be, they're tingling for this right now, right? And he's got the connections with that, and every other district rep can say the same thing. And I just think that we have to, we cannot have single digit and low double digit public engagement for the things that we do with this. I just think that would be a fail. Then we have to produce better results than that. And so again, housing and neighborhood services is a great place to start, but working with the district reps and all of the folks with whatever the group Kiba said, community, whatever their name is.
Committee, yeah.
Yeah. Those folks as well. It also, if there are area business groups, for instance, Montford Park has a group that basically is just all of the businesses in Montford Park, and they all get together, and that covers a small fraction of a single square mile. But if we can identify those folks, they're going to show up at the meeting for sure. So, and there may be economic development, or somebody may have entrees into those groups as well. So again, we just got to do a sufficient job on getting people engaged.
If I can respond to that real quick, I know Alicia and Kathy are trying to catch their breath, I think, just from the, getting to Monday. But I know they're already starting to think about these things, and even beyond housing and neighborhood services and ED, area planning really involves all the different departments. Because you need to get CDOT in the room, CATS needs to be in the room, even just our own teams within the planning department, the rezoning team, the long range team, even CRTPO at times, and certainly urban design. So I think this is really will be a, across the city type of effort. And with engaging those different departments also gets different channels and groups that they're connected to be able to bring more people to the into the room to talk about it. So this is going to be a major focus for the planning department, certainly. And I know that Kathy and Alicia are really working on how that's being structured, looking at prioritization of the different area plans and all of that. So I think it's just going to let them kind of get organized about what they're recommending. And then I think we'll certainly be in front of you on a regular basis talking about how we're launching that. And I'm, I like your launch party idea. We can talk about, how we might be able to really, kick that off in a splashy way. But I'm sure when Kathy and Alicia kind of get their arms wrapped around this a little bit, we can kind of talk about how we're going to move forward and when and some of those details.
Allison, if I can just add one more piece there. For me, it's more, there's a hierarchy of importance, and I understand getting all of the government officials that need to be in the room, but it's more important to me to get all of the citizen groups and residents in the room than it is to have everybody from every department, so nobody feels left out and their toes are not stepped on. I would rather see you do an event with 2 speakers from the planning department and 100 residents than 100 people from downtown and 2 residents. And so, we need to do things, results more important than activity. And results in this case are measured by the number of people that come to the event. Activity is just the number of people that are already getting a government paycheck that show up, so.
Yeah, and I was meaning to, just because you made the comment about the connections and the groups, and just meaning too that we all have different ways in which we connect in the community. And I think by going across the entire city, I think you'll be able to hit on more of the community, because, housing and neighborhood services interacts in a different way with the community than maybe economic development does. And
Okay.
so I think it'll help bring more people into the room by having the different perspectives there, and the different networks, really is what I think the word I'm trying to
Understood.
use.
Thank you.
I agree with you in 100% though. Yeah.
Okay.
It needs to be a situation where we're like, staff needs to be like the really small number of people in the room, and the 90% of the room needs to be people that are outside the city government. So
Yeah.
And Douglas, you were spared during the last planning committee planning committee work session where Mr. Chair allowed me to steal some time. And your note about this being the good weight of this being with the district reps, I completely agree with, and that is exactly what I in there in as we were making the vote on the recommendation for the policy map. I completely agree that they are the hosts. And I think that listening to that discussion on Monday night, any of them are in a position to deny that, as they are the ones that get the feedback from people who have concerns. They have the largest reach. They have the broadest reach. And when you said hierarchy of importance, I'm certainly going to read an email from my district rep faster than I would read something from Phil.
Yeah.
And me being invited to an event. So I think they have more clout, so to speak, than any of you. And I think the same for Board of County Commissioners.
Mm-hmm.
They can folks to show up to things that other folks in the city and county cannot. So I think that the onus of planning obviously belongs to the city, but in terms of the engagement portion, it starts with the district rep. That is something that I will die on the hill for if I need to. I believe it that strongly. And Allison, as much as you can funnel that up, I would greatly appreciate it, because we cannot be successful without them. And it is more detrimental for them to be more actively engaged at the point that we're adopting or trying to bring forth a completed area plan. We need them at the top of the process. And that would just help the entirety of this program here.
I think on that point, I think it would be helpful to go ahead and inform them before election season even kind of gets too far down that path. And go ahead and inform them that, hey, we're going to plan on you guys having a town hall specifically dedicated to this as soon as this fall. I mean, don't mince any words. I mean, or if we could do it sooner, I'd say do it sooner. But I know we're going to be buried with UDO until it passes. So,
but Phil, one spanner that goes in that, just to throw my Britishism in there, is when is the actual election going to take place? I think I've heard a date, but I wouldn't die on that hill, right? And
Allison's right.
are we going to have? Who are we going to have? Because somebody on the Democrat side is going to be disappointed. I'll just throw that out there. But I think we could legitimately see 3 seats change and maybe more.
Yeah, I think I'm thinking something town hallish, and we're hopefully back in person, or at least at minimum hybrid, but something in the building. But yes, it starts with the district rep. I don't know if we would wait until July 26th. I'm crossing my fingers there. but the folks who truly have an interest, which should be every candidate, will be in that room.
Yeah.
So, but to Allison's point, I don't want to put too much on Alicia and Kathy and team. But it was just a thought that I wanted to get out there as much as we can get ahead of that as possible, rather than getting into the area plan and everyone comes in there with the wrong idea about what the process is. So I just wanted to put that out there.
Agree with you wholeheartedly on that.
Speaking of May 17th, that is a planning committee work session, and it is also the end of primaries. It's primary election day. Are we thinking or did we already? I don't think we are ready, because this has been a moving target.
Yeah.
Okay.
No,
I won't get to maps yet, but when Douglas said election, that was another note that I wanted to mention. So in terms of planning commission for April 4th, our Monday coming meeting, UDO update, there was something else up there.
Silver line.
Got removed.
No, Silverline was never confirmed. I think it was a question that I had asked you guys in email and wanted to see if it's something that you wanted to be presented, and if so, what type of, because it was mentioned in a executive committee meeting in February. And so there's several Silverline presentations. There's the rail trail, there's the TOD study. There's just like the update on the design, like overarching preview. So there's different types of Silverline presentations. So I wasn't sure exactly what you guys wanted to.
The thing that I would be most curious about, and Phil is smiling because he's probably going to say the same thing, is what did they take away from the ULI adventure a few weeks ago? To me, you know what? It's a situational discussion if they tell me what's going on with the rail trail. They got provided with a lot of insight from that ULI thing, and that's where I want to know if some lessons were learned and if some directions were changed. But I'm not sure that things have had time to be processed in that regard either.
True.
Yeah, I don't think they would be ready that quickly. From the last couple conversations I've had, I think they're still trying to process all the different recommendations that were brought forward.
Yeah, I mean that's been less than a month. I can't remember exactly, but you know, that's the conversation I want to hear from them.
So the things that you just mentioned, Candace, the TOD info, the TOD study, I think would be somewhat helpful. Timeline-ish. I think as folks are still wrapping their head around the analysis around the comp plan, and mobility is part of the comp plan, I think understanding some of that information, understanding some of that information.
Don't cry for me, Argentina.
Might be helpful. I think there's something in my eye. So if we're able to make that happen for Monday, that would be great. And if the will doesn't have to be invented for them to be able to present that, I think that's what I understood from your comment.
Yes, so I contacted them, and those are the 3 topics that they threw out. So you said the TOD study?
Yes.
Okay, I will reach back out to them.
And not to be forgotten, we will be finalizing the nominating committee. I'm gonna turn this on. The nominating committee this coming Monday, so that needs to be on the agenda. And I guess soliciting nominations for executive committee for next fiscal year.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry. Do you have have you already appointed a nominating committee?
It will be established on Monday.
Okay.
Other than that, and I don't know who best to put this question to, the UDO update. I mean, obviously we have tons, literal tons that we could deal with on the UDO. Can we get an idea, or can we have some input on what the specific areas are, or is that already baked? I know the ordinance advisory committees had a meeting, has another one scheduled. I know they're working through a few things, but at the same time, I mean, heck, we could even probably spend a lot of time just on the parking elements of it, make sure our people are brought up to speed. And I don't know, maybe Kiba can present her findings. Kidding.
And let me just clarify, by research, I just mean listening, listening to the pros. There is one that I have been have found myself closely following now. His name is Donald Shoup. And his web, I've been listening to him for off and on a presentation here or there. And his website was so fascinating the first time he said it. I just started following him just because it's so cool. It's shootdog.com. Is that not clever? Anyway, he is
That doesn't take much to entertain you, does it?
No, I know why you're following him now. I get it. Yeah.
Sorry, it was just laying there.
But to listen to him, he's definitely a pro. He's not married to any particular area of the country or the world for that matter. He's traveled all over. He is well versed on the topic, the pluses, the minuses of each caveat, and I think it would be good to hear from him, but I don't know what costs might be associated with that, but certainly there could be other people that could come forth with some good data there too.
I follow him too. That's the same source.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else for future work session topics? I think we've said a mouthful there. I think to Phil's point about UDO in the last OAC meeting, are we thinking of?
Sorry, Candace, when were we talking about CDOT coming back? I couldn't remember if it was April or May.
They never did say. They said when they're still they're trying to figure their schedule out and when it would be appropriate to provide certain information.
I think that's important for you all to hear too, just some of the things they're talking about, particularly as it relates to the comprehensive transportation review. That's an important part, of implementing the UDO. So I think it's good for you all to be informed about that. I know they've been once, but just as they're making changes and kind of getting closer to adoption, I think it's important.
Yeah, I think he was going to provide a little bit more detail on the CTR, especially with the UDO coming.
Okay.
I also wanted to mention too that Kat said that they would like to come soon for the Envision My Ride bus priority recommendations. They are going to tap an MTC, I think, in May. So it may be it might be June, I think, what they will be looking at.
Do we know if dollars are on the ground yet from the award from the federal government?
I do not know.
Okay.
But that wouldn't get to us until next year's budget, though, would it?
I was hoping not, but
I didn't follow the budget, the city's budget very closely, so I can't say that I saw anything, but I wouldn't think that money would show up.
City's budget from the federal dollars that we got, I think that would come from the state. That's being distributed from the state according to people on Representative Adams' team.
Okay.
So I was just wondering, Envision My Ride is going to be a direct benefit of those funds. So I just wondered if the timing, they're wanting to bring forth this information to make some quick hits with those dollars. I was just wondering, but that would be a question for me when they do come to present. Anything else on future work session topics? And in terms of CTR from CDOT, Ed was just before us in January, I think it was.
Not too long
Or was
ago,
that-
yeah.
Or was it February?
It was February.
February. But with any updates, and plus that was a lot. I think that was the first time for the commission to hear about CTR. And I think that from what I understand, it's almost like it's under the umbrella of the UDO, which means if we get it right, it gets adopted with the UDO. Is that correct?
I mean, it's separate process, and I think exactly when, like, is it on the same night, or, I mean, all of those things are, we're still trying to work through. There's also the knowledge that the adoption date and the effective date of the UDO are not the same. And so how does that fit in with what they're doing because they can't really do that ahead of time. So we're still working through a lot of those details right now, but it is an important companion. It's just my point. I just wanted to make sure that y'all remain informed about that.
Okay. Okay. Does anybody else have anything for work session topics? Okay, if we can get to the calendar now. Yep. 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 So May 17th. How are you feeling about that, Phil? You're muted, by the way.
I was clicking on another screen. Yeah, I mean, that is our primary, right? So I mean, our tradition would dictate we try and move off of it. At the same time, when we've had elections move in the past, we've certainly gone ahead and held meetings at night. In this case, I don't know for sure of any. In the past, we always knew one or two members of the committee weren't going to be there. And so once we had a couple of known non-attending, it was better to just move the meeting than try and make it work. But honestly, I don't know of any that I'm guaranteed to lose.
Okay. Well,
So-
I think that maybe you take some time to kind of poll in your next meeting, and if it needs to be moved, you can make the call at that point.
I'll bring it back to y'all, definitely. But I have a funny feeling we'll be able to go forward.
Okay.
Are we missing a zoning committee work session the 1st of May in there,
Yep.
in amongst those dates?
Yeah, that will.
May 3rd.
So we'll have 2 meetings that month. I'm excited about that.
It happens rarely, but it happens.
It's a blue moon, remember?
I am very certain that I will miss the May 2nd meeting. So just of note, Mr. Vice Chair, you'll be steering the ship that day.
Fine, I'll go.
There is a commitment that I cannot get out of, and it is from 9 to 2.
You plan your drinking well in advance, don't you?
That's 9 a.m.? Does that matter? goodness.
I have no plane tickets. I'll be there.
Okay. Anything else for the
I think we need
good?
a couple of motions, but
Oh, yes. So work session topics and calendar adoption. Well, with the edit for the calendar for May 3rd.
Phil, did you make a motion?
I will make a motion that we approve the calendar as it is before us with the edits included, meaning May 3rd for the zoning committee meeting.
Second that motion that I thought you had already made.
Motion by Gusman, second by Welton.
Echo.
Motion, Chief Motion Maker. Commissioner Barbie,
Yes.
Welton,
Yes.
Gusman.
Yes.
Chair votes aye. That passes unanimous. Thank you so very much, and thank you for extending your availability today. If there's nothing else, motion to adjourn.
So
I
moved.
think Douglas has to make it its time. Yeah.
So moved.
You're right
Let's
up.
get out of here.
Okay, the motion and the second, I think I heard. So everybody enjoy the rest of your Wednesday afternoon.
You as well. Thanks.
Thank you so much.
See ya.